Welcome back to our channel. Today we are diving into an exciting world of database design and implementation for our social media app called ThumbTalk. If you're eager to learn how to bring our entity relational diagrams to life using the powerful TypeORM library, you are in the right place. Okay, so before we actually get our hands dirty with the code, let me actually explain the ERD that we're actually going to be implementing. So since this is a social media app, we're going to have users, right, that are going to register into our app, and then they're able to post like a thumbnail, and other users can actually like, comment on that thumbnail. And for the bonus, after you're done learning all this stuff, I'll ask the viewers to actually implement the subscribes, right? Subscribers entity over here. And if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's get to the code. Alrighty, so first and foremost, I've actually removed all entities. So we're gonna create our user entity over here, and then we're gonna create our post.ts, right? And we're gonna have our likes.ts, right? And our comments.ts, right? So let's just call this post, right? And let's call this our users table, right? Alrighty, so let's start off with like actually implementing our users table, right? So here we're gonna have users over here, right? So in our user entity, we saw that we're gonna have like our actual ID, right? So we have our ID, email, password, and is active ID, right? We have an email, which is a string. We've got our password, which is a string, and then is active. So this is active is actually going to be a boolean, which controls if they deactivate their account, we're going to set it to false. And we'll actually just make this an entity, right? To type ORM entity. Sorry, my bad. Alrighty, so we also want to have something called our created date, right? So this is gonna be our actual created date, right? And what we actually want to do over here is actually have a column, right? This is gonna be actually no, this is gonna be our primary generated key, and we want this to be a UUID instead of an integer, right? And then over here for email, we'll just make this a column, right? Column over here, and this is also going to be a column, right? So in this column, we're going to give it like a type, and the type here will be a timestamp. And no, that type is not a timestamp. This is a boolean, right? So bool, and our default for that is gonna be true, right? So if we don't specify the is active in our create, it should default to true. And we want to create the same thing over here, but this is gonna be our timestamp, right? And our default for our actual timestamp will be an arrow function. Yes, it should be an arrow function, and it should actually use current underscore timestamp. So it's actually going to call this function, which is going to actually return the current timestamp, right? Which is going to be this is an inbuilt function, right? So the default, if we don't specify the created date, we're going to then use the current timestamp, okay? I think that's fine over there. But what we also want to do is over here, right? So we know there's a thing in Postgres that it doesn't like when you use these camel case, right? If you use actual camel case, right? So, what I don't know if this is actually camel case or what, but what you'll need to do over here is actually for the setup of this, you'll need to install like a package called TypeORM naming strategy, right? So, and then after you've actually successfully installed that naming strategy, you'll come over here and we'll specify the naming strategy here, and this is gonna be a new, and then you're gonna use the snake naming strategy, right? So what this snake naming strategy will do is it'll actually let's go back to our actual user entity. So it'll actually convert this when it actually creates the DB, right? It'll actually convert this created data created date, right, to something like this. So it's created date dot underscore date, right? So that's what it's gonna do. So we can just quickly run our migration. Let's just call this generate. We'll call this migration one, and we'll actually see what actually happens, right? Let's see over here. We'll actually save everything that we have there, and let's actually see what we have. Let's hope this doesn't break. But yeah, actually, let's go to our actual PG admin. As you can see over here, if I actually refresh, I don't have any tables here, right? Okay, the migration is done. So I'll just now do a migration, which is a run migration, right? So now let's see what we actually have in our actual DB, right? Alrighty, so this should have ran like our actual migration. So if I actually refresh over here and go to my actual users column, you'll see this created date has a created underscore date, and this is active is going to be is underscore active because it's in the snake naming strategy, right? Okay, so moving on to the next thing. So we've actually created like our users table, right? Our entity. So now we want to just export class and create our posts entity. This is an entity, right? So now let's actually see over here what do we have. So in our post we're gonna have a user, so we're gonna have an ID for this post ID, user ID, which is gonna link up with this user, right? And then we're gonna have an image URL, caption, and is active, and so on and so on. Okay, alrighty, so how do we actually now do that, right? So we're gonna have is so we're gonna have an ID, which is that. We have an is active, which is of type boolean. We're gonna have a user ID, which is of type string, right? And then so after having like our user ID, we also want to have our caption, which is a string, right? We want to have a created date, which is of type date, right? And then we also said we want to have our image URL. Alrighty, so these are the actual columns that we're gonna have. So this is also a primary. This is actually a primary generated key, which is the UUID of that, right? And then this is gonna be our actual column, right? So if you would like to do that string, nope, this is gonna be text, right? So if you want to, you can actually do something like that or specify that this is UUID. I think we have that, right? But well, I won't do that because it would actually default to that string. So if I come over here and specify that this is a column, right? And then I'll have that as well for my caption. So this is a column as well. Then here I'll just specify the type, which is Boolean. All right, and then the default for this, I want to set it to true. Because I want to set up when they just create a post and just make it active. Yeah, okay. So over here we'll also have like a column which is gonna be of type timestamp, right? And then after that we'll have our actual default, right? And this is gonna be an arrow function, right? And we'll have this current timestamp, right? Yeah, so this is what we actually need over there. So yeah, and then down here we'll just want to specify our relationships, right? Let me actually see. Should I just create our relationships now, or let me think? Okay, yeah, I think it's fine. So what we're gonna have over here, we're gonna have a user. So this is gonna be many posts can be linked to one user. So one user can have multiple posts, right? So this relationship over here with the user, and then we're gonna have a user. So this user, right? So this is a many to one relationship, right? This is going to be a many to one relationship. So over here what we're saying is we're going to link this up with this users table, right? And we want to just set up this eager to choose. So what this actually does, it will actually just, if we just pull like a post, right, it will automatically just pull the user that's linked to it, right? If we don't specify on the select that we don't want to actually pull the user data, right? So this is users table, right? And then what we actually then also want to do is setting it up on what column this thing actually joins with, right? So we've got a join column over here, and we'll say the name of this column that we're joining with is going to be this user ID, right? So the reason why we're specifying this user ID like this is because we know that when this thing actually runs our migrations and actually pushes that up to our DB, right? So our fields are going to be converted into this format. So we're not going to actually use this user ID like this, right? And then what we're going to say is the reference column is the actual column that it's actually referencing in the user table, which is going to be the ID over here, right? So, okay, that's how we just do that relationship, and I guess that's what we need. Alrighty, so now let's hop on to actually now implementing our likes. So with our likes, we'll have an entity likes over here, and we'll call this entity. Alrighty, so I guess we're gonna have an ID, which is like now just almost like the standard, right? An ID with a primary. Okay, let me just save this, right? An ID, right, with the primary generated UUID. And if we were to go to our actual DB over here, we'll see we've got a user ID, our post ID, right, which is coming from our actual post, is active, and our actual created by date, right? So the logic with this created by date, we just gonna be keeping track of when they actually did the like, right, or performed the like actually, yeah. So what we're gonna do over here is actually say, let me see. So we're gonna have a user ID, which is of type string. We're gonna have a post ID, which is of type string, right? And alrighty, so over here, no, this is a column. This is gonna be type column, and this over here is gonna be a column as well. Alrighty, let me just try to increase the font of my actual ID. Okay, yo, this is too big, but I'll just try. Alrighty, so we said we also gonna have an isActive, which is a boolean, right? And with this boolean, this is actually a column as well, but here we'll just specify that the type is type bool, right? And the default for this is we're gonna have that, right? And then we're gonna have a created date, which is that date, and then this is gonna be our column, righty. And the type for this is gonna be type, nope, this is gonna be type timestamp, right? And then since this is a timestamp, we wanna just have like our actual default, so we don't have to actually specify the date.now, righty. So we'll just say this is the created timestamp, righty. So guess we're actually good to go there. So over here we can just have our relationships. So over here we'll say that so a user can have multiple likes. They can like to multiple posts, right? So over here we can have like a many to one relationship, right? And then so here we'll just say this user is linked to this user's entity, right? And then we'll do an arrow function over here, which is going to be to this users and eager, right? Okay, I think I didn't import that, so I'll just set up this eager, which is going to be set to true, right? So we're also gonna have our actual post, which is coming from our actual post, which is actually also a many to one relationship, which is coming from this. And yeah, I guess that's all that we need over there. And then so now we've got our actual user. Okay, let's see. So we've got that. So now we can just go ahead and create our actual comment, right, section. So I'll just copy and paste that and actually now say these are our actual comments, right? So comments will have, so the comments are actually also the same thing over here. So we'll actually have user ID, post ID, text, and is active and created date, right? So the only thing that we are missing over here is actually the text, right? Yeah, so you can call it anything. Let's not call it text. Let's call it comment. Let's just say this is a comment text, and yeah, I think that's kind of better, right? And then we'll say this is a column, righty. So how is this? So we've got the relationships as users and actual posts, right? And yeah, alrighty, that's all we need over there, right? So another thing now we actually want get our actual relationships, right, that are linked to this user, right? So the relationships with relationships, right? So over here, we know that with the user, we would like to pull the user's posts, right? We would like to pull the user's posts. We would like to pull the user's likes, right, which is coming from that. And we would like to pull their comments, right, which is going to be coming from those comments, right? So now this is another relationship that we're going to have, right, which is going to be a one, two, many relationship, right? I actually forgot something. Let me see if I actually didn't forget anything over here, right? So I did the relationships over here, which is proper for the post, but I actually missed something because I was actually speeding this, right? So over here, I specified that this is a many to one relationship, but I didn't specify these foreign keys, right? So how we go about that is we'll say this is a join column, and the name for this will be our user underscore ID, and our actual reference column is going to be our ID. So the same will apply here with our actual post. So here we'll have our post ID, right, which is going to be coming from this, and the actual reference for that is that, right? So we can actually copy these relationships over to the comments, right? So now I can just import that. Righty. So I guess now everything is okay. Okay, so now let's carry on with what we were trying to do, right? So this is a one-to-many relationship. So how we go about doing that now is we'll actually say this is an arrow function, right? This is going to be from our post, right? And then now we'll say p, right? And p dot, we're trying to get all posts. So this is coming from our actual user, right? So it's all posts linked to this user basically. So, and then over here, we'll just use the likes, just call that Al. And then this is Al, righty. And then now we're gonna copy this for our actual comments. C, alrighty. So yeah, for the one-to-many relationship over here, because we don't have any foreign keys over here, right? And I guess that's all we need, right? So now we can go ahead and just run or generate migration 2. Let's see if this is gonna actually run. If not, I don't know. So yeah. So now that I've actually generated my migration, after this, I'll actually try to actually run these migrations, right? So I need this run script. And now let's see, moment of truth. Moment of truth. Let's see if this actually works out. Let's hope we don't get any errors. Alrighty. It's so funny. Things don't tend to work out the first on the first try, right? Now let's go to actual DB and try to refresh and actually see. Yeah, so yeah, we've actually created what we actually needed, right? So we've got all these stuff. And if we were to maybe come here, right, to the post and actually try to check those properties, let's see. I think under constraints, yeah, you'll see. Is it under constraints? Columns. Oh yeah, foreign keys. Yeah, I was like so lost. Yeah, under foreign keys, you'll see that we do have like our foreign keys over here, which is this user ID, and this is referencing the ID from the users table. So you'll see that we actually do changes will be lost. Are you sure you wanna? Okay, yeah, that's fine. So you'll see over here that actually what's actually going on. Oh no, this is a this is something else, right? Ooh, okay, but that's fine. It's not a problem. So you'll see what's actually happening over here is we do have our actual relationships, and if you'd like to actually visually see those actual relationships, you can use like applications like I think it's dbeaver, right? Yeah, it's dbeaver. It's something like dbeaver, something like that, right? You can search for that application, install that, and then you can actually connect to your actual DB, right, using your credentials, right? And that should be able to actually map out your actual ERD with the showing you the actual relationships, right? And yeah, I guess we're actually done for this video. I know that was a lot of like explaining, but if you actually like this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe now. Peace.